March 15th, 2026, 11:47 p.m. Phoenix. Sarah Chen stares at 3 credit card statements spread across her kitchen table. She's paid $2,847 in interest this year alone, but her balances have grown, not shrunk. The statements don't lie. She's feeding a machine so perfectly engineered that her minimum payments were never meant to free her. 18 months earlier, Sarah's story looked very different. March 2024, same kitchen table. She was opening her first credit card welcome packet, grinning at the bold 0% APR for 15 months printed across the front. Her Southwest card had arrived with a promise. Spend $3,000 in the first 3 months, earn 60,000 points, and pay 0 interest until June 2025. It felt like free money. Sarah had a plan. Use the card for everyday expenses, collect the points for a family vacation, pay the balance before the promotional period ended. Simple. She never expected to see the 21% APR that would come later. What Sarah didn't understand was how the machine would work once that 15-month window closed. Credit card interest is compounded daily. The card issuer divides the APR by 365 to get a daily rate. A 20% APR becomes roughly 0.055% per day. That daily rate is applied to your average daily balance each day throughout the billing cycle. Each day's accrued interest is added to your balance, which becomes the starting point for the next day's calculation. Over the course of a month, these daily charges compound into the total interest charge that appears on your statement. By June 2025, Sarah's promotional rate had expired. Her $8,400 balance, accumulated through groceries, gas, a car repair, and Christmas gifts she'd justified as earning points, suddenly faced a 21.6% APR. Each day, the card issuer multiplies her current balance by the daily periodic rate. This new interest amount is then added to her balance, becoming part of the principal that will be used to calculate the next day's interest charges. This daily compounding means that Sarah is effectively paying interest on her interest. Sarah's $8,400 balance generates approximately $18.20 in interest every single day. Not monthly, daily. Her minimum payment of $168 covers that daily interest charge plus a tiny sliver of principal. Most months, her balance barely moves. This daily compounding mechanism, applied across 500 million American cardholders, generated $174 billion in interest revenue for the credit card industry last year. Sarah thought she was playing the game. The game was playing her. But what Sarah never understood was the second way the machine was making money from her. Every single swipe. 3 weeks after her promotional rate expired, Sarah was at Target buying school supplies for her daughter. She tapped her Southwest card on the payment terminal, earning 2 points per dollar spent. What she didn't know was that Target had just paid Visa an interchange fee of 2.2% on her $47 purchase. $1.03. Paid by Target. To Visa. For processing Sarah's transaction. Sarah's Southwest points weren't free money. They were a portion of that $1.03 interchange fee, returned to her as an incentive to keep swiping. The airline miles she thought she was earning were actually funded by Target, which passed that cost to every customer through higher prices. This is how the machine works at scale. U.S. merchants pay the world's highest interchange fees, usually 2% to 4% on a transaction. Across the country, fees on credit card transactions totaled about $111 billion last year on Visa and MasterCard branded cards alone. Sarah was generating revenue for the credit card industry whether she carried a balance or not. The most invisible part of this system? Everyone pays for Sarah's points. The cash customer at Target subsidizes her Southwest miles. The debit card user ahead of her in line subsidizes her Southwest points. Every single customer in that store pays slightly more for everything, groceries, clothes, electronics, to fund the rewards program Sarah thought was working in her favor. By December 2025, Sarah had accumulated 47,000 Southwest points from her everyday spending, but Target and every other merchant she'd visited had paid roughly $800 in interchange fees to fund those points, money that was built into the price of everything she bought, and everything everyone else bought too. So Sarah's $8,400 balance generates $18.20 in interest every day, and Target just paid $1.03 to fund her Southwest points on that $47 purchase. Comment your thoughts below. Now let's see what happened when Sarah tried to break free from this cycle. By January 2026, Sarah had collected 47,000 Southwest points from her everyday spending. She felt proud of her discipline. Every grocery run, every gas tank, every coffee. 2 points per dollar. She was beating the system, earning free flights for her family. What Sarah didn't understand was who was actually paying for those points. Sarah's 47,000 Southwest points represented roughly $470 in travel value. But to earn those points, merchants had paid approximately $800 in interchange fees across all her transactions. That $800 was built into the price of everything she bought, and everything everyone else bought too. The cash customer at the grocery store subsidized Sarah's points. The debit card user in line behind her subsidized Sarah's vacation. This is the wealth transfer mechanism the machine engineered. A wealthy family that racks up $250,000 a year on a premium credit card earning 2.5% cash back receives $6,250 in rewards, more than most Americans earn in a month. Sarah, carrying a balance and earning 2 points per dollar, receives $470 in travel value. But both are funded the same way, through interchange fees paid by merchants and passed to every customer through higher prices. The system creates a perfect sorting mechanism. People with access to premium cards and the income to spend heavily get the biggest rewards. People without that access, or those who can only afford to pay cash, pay the same higher prices without collecting anything. Sarah thought she was playing the game. But she was just another transfer mechanism in a system engineered to move money from people who can't access credit to people who can. But 4 months after Sarah's Southwest points revelation, the machine had evolved beyond traditional banking. Sarah discovered this when she opened the Starbucks app on her phone to check her stars balance. She had 1,247 stars accumulated from her daily coffee runs, enough for 6 free drinks. What she didn't understand was that Starbucks was holding approximately $31 of her money. Sarah's stars represented prepaid value. Every time she loaded money onto her Starbucks card or app, that cash moved from her bank account to Starbucks's corporate treasury. Starbucks was investing those deposits, earning returns on Sarah's money while she accumulated points. This transformation had already consumed the airline industry. Delta Airlines generates more money from its partnership with American Express than most airlines make from actually flying passengers. In fiscal 2025, the Amex co-branded card generated $8.2 billion in revenue, up 17.1% year over year, more than most airlines' entire operations. Sarah's Southwest points were part of this same mechanism. Every coffee shop, every airline, every major retailer had discovered the same formula. Get customers to prepay for future purchases, hold their money, earn returns on the float, and call it a loyalty program. Sarah thought she was earning rewards. She was actually providing working capital to some of the largest corporations in America. Her $31 Starbucks balance, her Southwest points, her unused gift cards, all of it represented money she'd already spent, sitting in corporate accounts, generating investment returns for companies that were already profitable from the original transaction. The credit card industry had taught every other industry the same lesson. The real product isn't the coffee or the flight or the purchase. It's the customer's money itself, and once you have it, the customer becomes the product, generating data, transaction fees, and investment returns long after they think the transaction is complete. By February 2026, Sarah carried $8,400 across 3 credit cards, had $31 loaded on her Starbucks app, and 47,000 Southwest points representing $470 in travel value. She was participating in a financial system that had transformed every purchase into a banking relationship. The machine had won completely. March 2026. Sarah sat at her kitchen table again, staring at the 3 credit card statements that had become her monthly ritual. Her balances had grown to $8,400, despite making every minimum payment on time. She was part of something much larger than her individual struggle. Sarah's debt was one fragment of a $1.28 trillion system. She shared her experience with roughly 111 million other Americans carrying revolving balances, 45% of U.S. households. The average cardholder in her position owed $7,886. But the statistic that mattered most was this: Sarah wasn't financially irresponsible. She was mathematically trapped. The structural environment had been engineered precisely for her situation. PRs averaging 22 to 25%, stagnant wage growth, inflation-driven survival spending, these forces had collectively created a debt cycle where her minimum payments barely dented the principal. When 55% of credit card debt exists to cover survival expenses, this wasn't a consumer product. It was a poverty tax. With a rewards program attached, the machine had achieved perfect efficiency. Roughly half of all active cardholders cannot pay their credit card bill in full each month. Among those already carrying revolving balances like Sarah, 60% have held that debt for at least a year. She was experiencing exactly what the system was designed to create: permanent customers generating permanent revenue. The behavioral psychology was working as intended. A 2026 survey found that 53% of both Gen Xers and millennials carry a credit card balance month to month, and 49% of Americans surveyed described credit card debt as normal. That normalization, more than any single statistic, may be the most consequential long-term finding. Sarah's story wasn't unique. It was the product. The credit card industry had engineered a system so sophisticated that it convinced customers like her they were earning rewards while systematically extracting wealth. The machine wasn't broken. Sarah finally understood. It was working perfectly. But understanding the machine was only the first step. Sarah realized she had concrete options to break free from the cycle that had trapped her. The most immediate move available to Sarah was transferring her existing high-interest debt onto a new card that offers a 0% intro APR period, which can sometimes be up to 21 months for some cards. At 20% APR, her $6,000 balance costs roughly $100 a month in interest, but with a 0% intro APR card, every dollar she pays goes toward principal with no interest accumulating in the background. The key was creating a realistic payoff plan. Divide her balance by 21 months and aim to pay at least that amount each month. On $6,000, that's $286. On $4,000, it's about $190. This wasn't just wishful thinking. It was mathematical certainty that would save her thousands in interest. Beyond the balance transfer, Sarah had multiple strategies to accelerate her debt payoff. She could switch from one monthly payment to 4 weekly payments, even at the same total amount, to meaningfully lower the average daily balance her interest is calculated on. Instead of paying $1,000 at the end of the month, paying $250 each week would reduce her interest charges. Sarah could also choose between 2 proven debt elimination strategies. The avalanche method, which involves paying more on the bill with the highest interest rate until it's paid off, while still making minimum payments on other debts, Or the snowball method, popularized by the Total Money Makeover author Dave Ramsey, which involves paying down the smallest bill first to enjoy an early victory. Rather than vague goals like spend less, Sarah needed to pick one specific thing to cut and route that money directly to her debt. That one change alone could shave months or even years off her payoff timeline. Getting out of debt doesn't necessarily require a bigger paycheck. Far more important than income is discipline. The fastest way to eliminate credit card debt is sticking to a consistent strategy, whether using the avalanche method to tackle high-interest balances first, or the snowball method to rack up quick wins and build momentum. Either way, the real shift happens when you stop settling for minimum payments and start paying down the principal. For Sarah, the path forward was clear. Stop the interest meter from running with a balance transfer, create a specific monthly payment plan, and commit to never adding new charges to the cards she was paying off. The machine was designed to be inescapable, but it wasn't. Sarah just needed to understand the rules and use them in her favor. Subscribe if you want more like this. Next video reveals the machine behind your mortgage.